Hi there, it's Tope on another episode of the documentary series Life in Places. Still on our quest to identify and tell the stories of individuals that have moved to new societies and have made the conscious effort to affect their new communities positively, we get to meet Senos Timon on this episode. Senos is originally from the city of Khartoum in South Sudan, and he had to relocate to Canada with his family years ago when war broke out in his home country. Having settled in the city of Saskatoon and gotten used to his new society, he found the need to understand the inadequacies that existed in this society and decided to build on his innate leadership traits to help the less privileged and people that didn't have the opportunities to voice out their opinions. He started the People Bridge advocacy, through which such voices could be heard loud and clear. And with this, he has been able to bring light to a lot of issues that affect people in different spheres of the city of Saskatoon. He has also gone the extra mile by not just highlighting these issues, but getting into politics, getting into governance, and presently he represents a constituency in the city of Saskatoon. This is Senos Timon's experience on Life in Places.
Leadership is about really helping uplift voices that has not been in the decision-making table, and ensuring that every voice is heard. My name is Senos Timon. I was originally born and raised at then or Sudan, and obviously after the country split, it became South Sudan. So that's where I was raised and grew up, and immigrated to Canada in 2000 with my family and two children at that time. I've been a resident of Saskatoon for all this time and got involved in the community since then. So that's my originality where I am from. I was born and raised in South Sudan. The state is Central Equatoria State, and my home city is called Kajukeji, and that's where I was grew up and raised. And yeah. Well, before the war, like any other child, life was good, obviously. I think pretty much I grew up in a very comfortable family. Not rich family, but to the African standard, we have everything. Is that right? I have place to sleep, we have food, we have water. Whatever that standard is, I think I was satisfied with that. The African standard where you are raised within your family, within your siblings, within the extended family. So life was good until the time that the war started again in South Sudan in 1983, whereby the war affected so many villages, towns, so many people got displaced, and including myself, and that's how I end up in Canada because of the war that started since 1983. Obviously, history of Sudan has been in a war since its independence, and the war of 1983, that one was the war that displaced millions of people and so many lives lost at that time. So in short, life was good until the war started, where we myself and many of my extended family, including my immediate family, got displaced. Our properties obviously got burnt, rubbed down during the conflict, and that led to me fleeing the country. It wasn't really my choice to immigrate to Saskatoon, but obviously at that time, when the war interspired, I left. I fled Sudan, then I fled to Egypt, and at that time, obviously, we are in a desperate situation where you're looking for a place for refugee wherever you can get. At that particular point, Canada became one of the country that gave us sanctuary to come to Canada. At that point, all decisions of where I will be located in Canada, those decisions are made with the Immigration and Citizenship Canada, the body that oversees the settlement program. So when we went through the process at that time, then we were told that, oh, you're going to be going to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And when they asked, where is Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, obviously we never heard about Saskatoon at that time, apart from really hearing about these big centers like Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary, those big centers. But obviously I knew about Saskatchewan from the geography, through the prairie and through the geography, but not particularly Saskatoon. So that's where we end up finding ourselves. But what I know at that time, I was during the orientation, basically we were told that that's the holiest place on earth where you're going to be going. So if it's the holiest place on earth, as long people survive there, I believe that also I will survive, or we will survive. So that's how we end up in Saskatoon. And since then, we love the community. We are well received here. So we love the community and end up staying here till today. One thing that I really, that probably shaped the way how I see society is really the experience that I confronted by seeing how much people are struggling on streets, the homelessness, the poverty, which is something that I never thought of it, and that became really one of the shocking things to see that we live in this beautiful country, in this rich country, yet there are people who are struggling on the street. So that's really, I would say, is one of the cultural shock that I see, but not necessarily not necessarily weather wasn't a factor. When we came, the kids were very young. The kids were very young at that time, and basically the food that we ate back home in Sudan at that time, it wasn't much difference with the food that we found here. The only difference was that is really there were few stores at that time that really carry more of kind of foods that we eat, and that was a little bit of challenge. But obviously, as time goes on, so many people from the immigrant community start involving in entrepreneurship, where so many stores pop up, and that helped in terms of food selections, in terms of grocery shopping and stuff like that. In terms of clothing, it wasn't something because we live when we fled the war in my native home. We stayed. We were in Khartoum, which is the capital city of Sudan, and obviously living in the capital city is not like living in a village. So you have that. You have that acquaintance to how people dress and so forth. And at the same time, when we immigrated to Egypt. Also, you say we live in Cairo. So dressing code wasn't as challenging. At that time, we don't really have a lot of special, huge events that we go to that require traditional clothings. And as time goes on, those become more accessible. Yeah. First of all, I was trained as a professional welder back in Sudan, and that's what I did for several years until I left the country and came to Canada. So when I came to Canada, Saskatoon, I landed here, obviously, regardless of what like the immigration system is, that whether you speak English, you don't speak English, you got to go through the English ESL, the English as a second language process training. So that's what I spent one of my first year just learning English, how to speak the Canadian English and so forth. Even though I went to school in English in Sudan, but obviously that was the process, is that right? So after that, I went to Kelsey, which is Saskatoon Tech right now, to upgrade my welding career. So I did that, and through the help from Saskatoon Open Door at that time, they helped me prepare my first resume, and we sent out, and bam, I got a job right in one of the biggest manufacturing company called Hitachi Canadian Industry, which was producing a lot of KV machinery, which wind turbine, and all those things. So it was a good experience. It was a good start job, and I don't know, I cannot remember. Maybe it started with $5 something, $5.75 or $6 as starting wage at that time in 2000. So it was a good experience. I didn't struggle in finding job like any other, like many other immigrants. So I transitioned myself from that job until I left that job to really just pursue different parts of career and life. That got me to where I am in this role as a city councillor representing Ward 2 in city of Saskatoon. I, at one place, didn't aspire to be in a place as an elected official or as a politician, but I knew from the beginning that I have these skills and ability to be able to help other people in the society amplify their voice, creating their voice, and providing them the tools that they need to be able to do that. So during that process, when I arrived at Saskatoon, I basically got involved. And I want to back up. My first involvement was with a friend from a church who was helping us when as a new immigrant. So you need to get the support there. So this lady was coming to our house and they're supporting us really hard to understand all these basic things. So then she talked about a poverty meeting where she involved in another group that advocating for social justice around poverty, housing, stuff like that. So I got involved. I got invited to that meeting, and right from that meeting, it really just opened my eyes and drew me close to get involved in the community. So I got involved in the community at large in Saskatoon, served in my local community association, in my neighborhood association, served in different boards, in different roles, and so forth. So that exposed me to understand the issues and also give me the connections that helped me to get me where I am. So in order for you to conquer that struggle, you need to get involved. in the community, not only looking like a South Sudanese, not thinking only the issues that South Sudanese are struggling with, or not thinking only the issues as an African, thinking of that, okay, I'm a black person, thinking of issues that what is, but you need to see things in a broader way. What are the other issues? Because everything's are interrelated. Everything is interrelated. So looking into that and get that involvement, and that will help your part. Without knowing that what you're doing today is going to help you tomorrow, or is going to open you to different windows. And that's what exactly in my place, how I get to be where I am today. Nga ma ke nangoro ma ma I think one time we went to the store, and it was myself, my wife, and I went to the store, and this it's not a kid, but it was a grown up person, which is really just they say all these kind of racist remarks that I feel really just this kind of, I cannot say publicly, but this kind of words that you usually get, which is the N words, and at that time it really bothers me a lot. It bothers me a lot, and when I came and then I was just so angry and asking myself, why am I in this country first place? Why am I in this country place subjected to this kind of racism, these kind of remarks where I don't feel like I belong here. I don't feel like I'm actually have this sanctuary that I guess. So I was bothered to a certain extent for quite some times. But as time goes on, and I get subjected to that quite a lot, that people make all these kind of derogatory remarks and all these things like that. So I thought myself, so well, I make a decision whether he's not willingly, but due to what was going on in my country and where I'm here right now. And in order for me to really just overcome that, instead of me being angry, I need to turn that anger into really understanding why people saying things like they say and do things that they do, into more of education, really just helping people understand things that people are saying, things that people are doing to others, that are hurting others. When you turn this, actually, look, if it's going to be yourself, what does that mean if someone gets it? So those kind of things that I cannot forget that incident. But obviously, again, as I said, instead of me just dragging on that, I turn it as a tool to help educate others, to help really me understand why people think the way that they think. One thing that I wanted to share here is that, which I already indicated, is about being vulnerable. People sometimes feel, people feel discouraged when they're in a setting whereby they find themselves to be the only voice there. And in that space, you find that, or you feel that, what your contribution is not being taken, whether it's ideas or something like that. And sometimes people feel frustrated, why do I want it to be here? I'll give you an example that in many cases, sometimes I find myself to be the lonely person in that setting. And some of the discussions sometimes can get really just very difficult and uncomfortable, that wanted you just to get out of there. So when you have that, when you feel that, okay, I don't belong here, and then you just said, that's why you open a space for some of those things that you have hoped to address. So being persistent with what you're trying to accomplish and the purpose why you are there in first place, you need to understand that and just stick on to that, and eventually you will be able to do good things. Well, so far I wanted to say I'm content with my life here in Canada, in Saskatoon, where I am. But obviously, we don't have control of our destiny. We don't have control of our destiny. So, whatever future, whatever is in future, I cannot really predict, but I cannot say. But right now, I'm content with my life here in Saskatoon and with the community that I have built, with the families and relationship and things that I have. So, but whatever that future looks like, yeah. So the challenge is to start life in other places. Is basically really you're being, whether it's intentional or not intentional, you're being moved from a place where you have that comfortability of knowing your relationships that you have built, and get to a place where you have to start things from scratch. And number one is how to navigate that. How can you fit into the society? That's the biggest challenge, is really fitting in to that culture, fitting into that system, and find your way really to be able to feel that, yes, I belong and this place is my home. So it's navigating that, that's the difficult part, and finding the network of people whom you share the same views, you share the same values, to support you get overcome those challenges. In terms of opportunities, obviously, and that's why I wanted to use my own life here in Saskatoon as an example, is in order for you to tap to opportunity, you need to get out. You need to get out from your comfort zone. You need to get out from your comfort zone, be able to explore, and be able to be in a place that sometimes you might even feel vulnerable in those places. But when you get yourself out from your comfort zone, it helps you really just to build up the networks where these opportunities will come. It helps you to understand what is around you and what opportunities that comes. So it's that biggest challenge of getting yourself out of your comfort zone for the opportunity that you can explore. So that's really how I wanted to see seizing those opportunities. Is you cannot find those opportunities when you're actually sticking to your own network, but you wanted to be able to get out from your comfort zone in order for you to tap into those opportunities.
So, what do you think? I am sure that you must have been inspired by his experience and the extra effort he has made to excel in this new society he has found himself. That's it for this episode, and I'll see you guys on the next one.